Welcome back to PedalBox, and you join me as I'm about to go on a road trip to go and pick up another project. And I know what you're thinking, I don't need another project, and you're right, but this one's slightly different. I'll explain more in a minute. So I've just finished editing the Rustival video, that's all ready to go out, and a vehicle that was at Rustival has now come into my possession. And as I say, I definitely don't need another project car, but here we are. The goal of this is really something of a mercy mission, because this car doesn't need to go to the scrapyard, but unfortunately, due to a variety of circumstances, that is pretty much the destination for it. And really, the only reason it's going to fail the MOT and have to go to the scrapyard is a couple of minor problems that are very, very fixable. So I've been given the task of trying to save this car with just a few parts and hopefully a couple of days worth of work, get it back into service and hopefully keep it alive, keep it out of the scrapyard for a little bit longer. So I'm going to get on the road. I'll see you when we get to this mystery vehicle that some of you might already know, and I might have even put it in the title of the video at this point. We'll see when I get into the edit. So we'll get on the road and we'll catch up with you later. So we have arrived at the secret location with the new vehicle, and yeah, you know when you start looking at a project and you go, why did I take this on again? But it'll be fine, it'll be absolutely fine. And some of you might have seen our previous video from Rustival earlier this year when we went and I spoke to Adrian from the Autopian, yet another Adrian involved, and he had a SsangYong Rodius. And that is what we are here to pick up. And the last thing I said to him was, let's do something again sometime in the future. Maybe not with a Rodius. Yeah, that didn't pan out exactly as I expected. So this is the steed. This is what we need to save. This is what we need to keep on the road, because ultimately it doesn't actually have that many problems. We're obviously going to get a little bit more into the investigative side of that the MOT showed up. But basically all the problems are around this corner. It's got a cracked spring and a loose CV joint that's letting dirt get in and the grease get out. And that's basically it. After that, it's got some cosmetic bits and really just some other odds and sods. The springs on the back need a little bit of work. The discs need some work. It could do with the brakes bleeding. The interior needs a clean, but ultimately, it's a perfectly serviceable car. So now all I need to do is get this back to PedalBox HQ and start taking apart that front corner. Hopefully, whilst we still have some nice weather like this, considering we're into September, I'm hopeful that we'll get that for at least another couple of weeks. But we'll see how lucky we are with that as we try to get further into this little project and get it wrapped up before winter, because I really don't want to be scrabbling around underneath this in the rain and the cold through November and December. I'm not sure how well that's going to go, considering some of my previous project speculations for timelines, but I am vaguely hopeful at least. So I know I said we were going to do something with Adrian again in the near future, if you look back at that video, and we are back, and I also said it wasn't going to be a Rodius, but here we are. Sometimes fate does not comply, but...
And the Rodius does not comply.
No, absolutely not, but I'm sure you're thrilled to be getting rid of this.
I am absolutely over the moon. This is, in the history of Fridays in my life, this has got to be absolutely one of the best.
Yes.
Goodbye and good riddance.
It's been a wonderful car, it's just... you never want to see it again.
No.
It served its purpose well. So with a handshake and an exchange of keys, there is your PedalBox token of, yes, I have received this abomination. I will take this away and do the best I possibly can. So let's go and see how bad it is back at the house.
Finally, it's going to be out of my life. I'm going to drink this now, because I think after everything I've been through with the Rodius, I deserve it. Cheers, and good riddance.
So having driven it to 20-30 miles at this point down the motorway. What are my first impressions? Well, in all honesty, it drives perfectly fine. There is nothing majorly wrong with it at all. It pulls, it goes through all the gears, the cruise control works. Even between 50, sort of 60, 70 mile an hour changing lanes, it's absolutely fine. It really has no trouble with that whatsoever. Off the line, it is definitely dog slow. Until you get round the revs a little bit, it starts making a bit more power. Then it starts to pick up and it feels a little bit more like the turbo diesel you might expect. But yeah, off the line, this is definitely no spring chicken. As a 20-year-old car, it's going to have creaks and rattles and all sorts of things like that. And yeah, you can definitely tell what the reviews mean. It's really nicely spec'd, but it's definitely kind of cheaply put together, albeit it is quite solidly put together. It doesn't feel like it's just going to break apart in your hand when you grab for anything. The switchgear is all reasonably good. It's utilitarian, it's functional. It's definitely not luxury, but it does have all, sort of a lot of the luxury mod cons you would expect. Heated seats, electric seats, aircon, although the aircon in this one probably needs regassing. The blower is working fine. It's getting nice cool air through from the outside, but it's definitely not blowing cold like you would want aircon too. The centre console for all of the gauges is also a little bit disconcerting. I've never driven or owned anything that's had a centre pod for gauges, so across in front of me I have all of my lights, what gear I'm in. That's where the cruise control system sort of points to and goes, oh yeah, it's active at the moment, that's where your lights are. But the fuel gauge, tacho, speedo and temperature are all in the middle, which is definitely a little bit disconcerting to get used to. It's not actually that windy today, but I have had a couple of gusts and they haven't really touched it, in spite of the fact that this is a big slab-sided vehicle. Because it also weighs 2.7 tons, it hasn't really noticed it at all. That said, once you move between lanes and you get it going sideways, it's not the most willing thing to stop moving in a given direction. You definitely feel the weight carrying you as you move around on the road. So yeah, it's definitely one of the heavier things I've ever driven. The engine's running quite happily, although it does seem to have a bit of a squeak on the aux belt. I'm going to have to take a look at that, and I think I've got some spray that's supposed to quieten down belt, so we'll see whether that actually works on something. The gearbox shifts happily. It's got a winter and summer mode. I'm not exactly sure what that means. I'm going to have to look into that, but it also has a 4-low option as well. So this is a low-range gearbox, obviously because it's 4-wheel drive, so the transfer box has a low-range capability, which I just find hilarious. I might have to keep this long enough to see if we get some snow over winter and try and see what it's actually capable of, because there's going to be no use for that even remotely this time of year. The rest of the interior is really comfortable. The seats are quite nice. You know, the middle row is a captain's chair, so they spin around, so that's really convenient if you ever need to talk to somebody in the back whilst you're driving along. Yeah, it's just not a terrible place to be. The outside of it, the looks are really its biggest problem. But once you're inside it and you don't have to look at it anymore, it's fine. It's really not a terrible place to be. It's comfortable. The worst thing I found about it ergonomically in terms of driving position, specifically for the driver's side, the parking brake is foot operated. And it comes just high enough up and it's sat just far enough off the transmission tunnel that I keep hitting my shin and the front of my ankle off it, and that is really starting to grate on me. But I am getting better about just positioning my legs somewhere slightly different, so I haven't done that in about 20 minutes now. So the Rodius has made it the 70-80 miles back down to PedalBox HQ, really without any issues, although I definitely think we're going to have to put some discs and pads on, because there are some grinding noises coming from the back left that suggest there might not be any pad left. Obviously we've got to sort that spring on the MOT in the front left and the CV. At least it's both the same corner and side of the car, so that makes life way easier to deal with. I have had a quick look around and some of the parts are going to be a bit tricky, so that's the next job. Go through, make sure we can find everything we need, and if we can't, we need some new plans. So I'm going to start at the back of the car because I know for a fact I need discs and pads, and having looked around online, there is a question mark over what size these discs are. The fronts are pretty universally 300, but there's about 3 different sizes for the rears. That's very stiff. God, I don't know what these have been tightened up to, but they're mildly concerning, and they're at least moving. Oh, just enough to brake. Right, let's get this here. Well, the discs are definitely worn out, so it's going to need a new pair, which is going to mean both sides at the rear. You can see there's a lot of the scoring, as mentioned on the MOT, and at the outside, it's not even polished, so I doubt on the outside of these pads there is any material left whatsoever. It's really looking very, very poor across this side, and it just seems to be folding down some of the ridges that are coming up from it. It's just, these are absolutely done for. I just need to check what size, because there are about 3 different types listed for this car, like a 324, which is non-vented. These are the vented ones, and then the vented come in 2 different sizes, just over 300 and just under 300. So I'm going to eyeball that across there, and that looks about 310, which would be on par with being the 307 mils that I looked up last night before I took all of this apart. So we definitely need a pair of these. We definitely need some pads for both sides. That's one thing on the list. Up at the front, cosmetically, the discs are looking absolutely fine. There is no major scarring like there is on the back from where it's gone to metal on metal. You can't feel any grooves. I can't get my nail to catch in any of the little striations across here, so these look fine, and there's plenty meat left on the pads. However, there is a massive lip on the edge of the disc on both sides, which, if I put the calipers on, I don't think I'm actually going to get a particularly good or accurate reading, because the lip of the disc is just going to catch in the little recessed throat at the back. So it's saying there's 26 mil of disc left. But even then, I can see there's a gap of probably at least 1 millimeter between the jaws of the vernier and the face on this side. I can't really see the backside from here, but one way or another, it's wrong. So with that much lip, the likelihood is we're going to have to replace these discs and pads as well. I will check online to see what the minimum thickness is and what the original thickness is. We might be able to get away with just taking this lip off the edge if there's enough meat left on these discs, but I highly doubt that, because normally, once you've got a big lip on them, that is pretty much the end of the discs and their usable life. So we'll have to do discs and pads, but the 2 major problems on the MOT, one is the CV joint down behind the disc, and one is the spring. The CV joint isn't actually that bad, it's just the boot which is split open, but it's leaking grease and it's allowing dirt to get in, which will destroy the CV eventually. So we're going to have to do that, pull this nut off, take the whole thing apart to get it out and redo it. So that's going to be a big faff. The worst part is the spring. I had a quick look inside here to try and see where it was last night when I got home, and I couldn't really see anything major. All I could see was a lot of the powder coat where it had flaked off. And I was like, maybe someone's being a little bit uncharitable to this and has seen a big crack in the powder coat on the top side where you can't really see in, and they've called that a crack in the spring. No, the bottom coil here is absolutely shot. So that means we're going to have to sort a new spring for the front, potentially one for the other side. But unfortunately, I've not been able to find new springs listed anywhere for one of these, which is really, really annoying. I'm going to have to start going through used parts dealers, scrapyards, calling them up and trying to find them if they haven't got them listed on their site. I'll go around the local ones on the off chance, because that would be really handy if they did. Bit of a mixed bag. We might be able to get away with some stuff, but I doubt it, and some things are going to be difficult. It's been a fraught couple of days trying to find parts for this. Some of them are dead easy. Discs, pads, even the wheel bearing, because I'm going to try and do that since it's on the same corner I'm already taking apart. I might as well do that while I'm in there. However, springs are a different matter. I did have a very quick look around when this plan was kind of coming to fruition to see if I could find things, and I didn't find a lot. Rear springs, dead easy. There are a bunch of second-hand ones on eBay in the UK. You can buy them from aftermarket resellers, upgraded ones, lifted ones, things like that. They do exist, although they're still fairly thin on the ground. Front springs, however, are a completely different story. I've tried to find just basic new replacement springs and there was nothing. I found one complete used strut, which would have been fine for this to just swap out. Hopefully it will approximately match the mileage of the one on the other side and we'll get away with just having to take apart one side of the car. But no. Unfortunately, that's sold. By the time I got the car down here, got it in the air to check some part numbers and make sure it was the right one, I went to buy it and it had already gone that morning, which was really, really frustrating. So my dreams of doing a simple swap on the front are dead in the water. I'm going to have to try and find new springs. And after doing a couple of hours searching, a glimmer of hope. Somebody said that the Rexton 2 front spring is the same as the one for the Rodius. Now that's weird because you would think that part would come up being listed on all of the part sites, all of the motor factors, as fitting both vehicles, but it doesn't. I can find Rexton 2 springs at any of them. Most of them have them in stock, some of them even have them on the shelves right now to just walk down and pick up, which is just fantastic. However, they don't have ones for the Rodius. They don't specifically have them listed. So further Googling, I eventually found a part number. That found me a couple more suppliers. Unfortunately, every one of those suppliers is in the US. And by the time it makes it through customs and gets over here, it's going to be about £150. And the Rexton 2 ones, if I can get away with using those, are only 40 from the same place that I'm getting all the brake parts. So that would be a really nice win if I can get that to work. I continued Googling and looking around and trying to find spec sheets because most places list the overall diameter of the spring, the material thickness, but not the overall length. And that was the only reason I could think of that these two basically identical looking springs might not be compatible with one another. There are some from the 2 litre, and I think there's a 2.2 they put in this as well, and they're about 325 mil. The Rexton ones are 385 mil, so they're significantly bigger. I eventually, after another hour or so of searching around the internet, found the spring length for the Rodius, 375 mil. So that means the Rexton ones might not work. I have ordered them from the same place because they have a sale or return, so as long as I don't damage them when I'm trying to measure them up and check that they may or may not fit, I can just send them back and get my money back, and it was free shipping already, so it seemed like it was worth a punt. So all the parts are on order to fix this up. But if that doesn't fit, I'm going to have to wait for some from America to get over here. And as I say, the ones from the Rexton are about £45 versus what's probably going to end up being the thick end of 150 per spring and a 2-week wait, possibly more. But the parts are at least ordered, discs, pads, wheel bearing and a couple of these springs so that we can try and get this thing sorted as soon as possible. As much as it is glorious sunshine right now, approaching the middle of September, it is meant to rain in about 40 minutes time and I can see the black cloud starting to creep over, so I'm not going to be able to get much done here. Even if I had the parts on hand, which they're not, they should be here tomorrow or perhaps at the weekend. So with that, that is the end of progress on the Rodius. I have it, I have parts on order, and I am awaiting more information. We'll see what happens, and I will keep you updated in the next episode. If you're new here, please do subscribe and click the like button below. Let us know in the comment what you would do with this if you can't get any more springs. If those springs don't work, and I can't make them fit, and the other ones in the US sell out, what am I going to do? Bearing in mind, I need to get it through an MOT, so I can't necessarily just chop the springs to the same length on each side and run with it. Thanks very much for watching this. As I say, like, comment, subscribe. You can check out shop.pedalbox.show if you want to buy a t-shirt to help us do this and the rest of our other projects. Check out the other videos as well. You can join us at patreon.com/pedalboxshow if you would like to support the rest of the channel, and we will see you in the next episode on either the Rodius or any of the other projects we have on this channel. Thanks for watching.